Hello, we're here with FIDE Master Dov Gorman of the Philadelphia Inventors. This is FM Mike Klein reporting for the United States Chess League. Dov, how are you this afternoon?
Doing great.
Well, we've got an impressive couple of stats I'm just going to throw at our listeners real quick about your season so far. You are in second place in the MVP points race. You are undefeated this year. You scored 7.5 out of 9. Your performance rating was over 2,600, and you are a lock to be third board first team of the United States Chess League. Which one of those stats impresses you the most?
I really didn't expect it to go as well. I think that coming second in the MVP is a great honor for me. I think that I was very impressed with the idea of a very consistent result, and I think that several of the games went my way. So that's my choice.
Well, scoring 7.5 out of 9, I mean, if this was a regular tournament, you would have a Grandmaster norm under your belt. Have you ever had any single tournament as successful as this season?
Not in that round. I had a couple of times where when I started my career, when I was younger, and I had pretty good results at the time. But this is pretty good. This is I'm very pleased with that.
Well, frankly, I don't know a lot about you. Tell us about your younger career. Did you start out as a scholastic player?
Well, I started at 13 back in Israel, and I started going to tournaments right away. So from the time I was in an after school program, I started joining tournaments. I had a math teacher who was also a chess master, and that really helped. He had a couple of very good students that went to win important tournaments like the European Championship, and I think one even won the Junior Championship, the World Championship. So he kind of knew what it takes to get to be very competitive. So I started with him, and I became serious right away. And I was a master at 17, so it took me about three plus years to be a master from the time that I started. So I skipped the early scholastics. So that was my first part of the career. And like anybody in Israel, you have to go to the army. So your chess progress has to stop at one point. And I restarted it after the army, and then I moved to the U.S. at one point. In the U.S., I started. It was back in the late '80s, and I started in the playing Grand Prix tournaments. I played the U.S. Open, the World Open. I won the under 2400 in the first try, and and then went back to work. So I stopped playing for 12 years, and at one point I restarted it. So I'm enjoying my new life in chess.
So, what was the inspiration to restart it after such a long hiatus?
It's a good question. At one point, you just want to do it. I don't know that it was something very specific, but I guess I missed it. And I said I'll try one tournament, and then one thing led to another.
And does it still feel the same coming back, or do you play? Are you less results oriented now that you're older, or are you even more determined? Basically, what I'm asking is, now that you're an older, more mature player, do you have a different mindset when you sit down to play a tournament game?
It's definitely different. I mean, chess changed. I mean, I grew up at the time when we didn't have databases and engines and all of that, which is a very big part of today's game. So it's not the same game for sure. I mean, immediately now everybody is watching with their engine at doing analysis in the background, and you lost a little bit of the art of it. You're more critical of every move, and the game is more concrete than it used to be. So it's just a very different game. And as far as being the maturity part of it, it takes a while to get back in the game. You're not in the right form. You don't have you don't know how to pace yourself in a game. What does it take to win? I mean, uh, this part you had to, I think that I had a couple of periods where I had to rework on figuring out how to get results. I'm not as concerned about results as before, but I'm very competitive and I enjoy the game. So of course, you play the game you want to win, but there are other aspects of it that are important as well.
And have you ever played in a team setting before, or is this your first time?
I played in team settings back in Israel and also in some local capacity here, played in the DC Chess League.
I see. Well, it's pretty amazing for you to have chalked up as many points as you did and not win Game of the Week even once. If you'll please set aside any modesty for a second and just tell us what you think your best game of the season was.
I think I had a pretty good effort against Lev Milman. Um, and there were a couple of moments in one game, or there were a couple of games that seemed to have a pretty nice tactics and a nice flow to them. I don't think that when looking back at all my games from the openings, I don't think that I got a bad position in any of the games. But I had the other parts of the game that didn't go my way, and one of them definitely I was lucky beyond lucky. But as far as good games, I think my games against Millman was a good one, and also against Matt Herman. Then I had a quick win against the Yuan Li Yuan from Connecticut, which was a complete crash, and I think you display them in in your coverage.
Right, the finish against Millman, I think I did also. That was your Week 7 game where you used the deflection tactic Queen E5. It was a nice finish. Well, things went swimmingly for Philadelphia in the quarterfinals. Your team won pretty easily, 3.5 to 1.5 over Baltimore. Tell us, going into that match, what was your board by board strategy?
I think that it really surprised us how well we performed. Obviously, it was our best result in the entire season, and you really don't know what to expect. I mean, one thing that I really enjoy about the U.S. Chess League is that all the games are very exciting, and it's very unpredictable. So you have players who did not perform so well at one point, and suddenly they are creating masterpieces. I think that we have a very reliable first board, and Sergei Ehrenburg is a great leader for the team. He's also an outstanding person, so he's willing to he help us with preparation, some ideas, etc. He's very generous with his time and with his knowledge, and I'm the first one to appreciate that. So you hope that he will do well. I mean, I can't really say that you go to the match and said that we will win on this board or draw on that board. It just doesn't go as simple as that. But overall, I think that we did pretty well on first board, and on my board, I think I was fortunate to do well. Tom Bartel is a very reliable person. I think that he is much stronger than his result this year. And again, he's a very, very solid player, and I think that he outplayed in the last round. He outplayed Grandmaster Larry Kaufman in a nice game. And we had the bonus with the win of Richard Costigan, who is also an outstanding person. So overall, I think that we thought that we have a very good chance to do well in this match, but I don't know that we had a granular feeling about each one of the boards.
I see. It was a little surprising that FM and Captain Michael Shahadi decided to start Richard Costigan after having pretty much a subpar regular season. How important was it to get him back on form?
It's very important. Every half a point can matter. And you look at all the matches for the entire league. I mean, it's just end up being 2-2, 2.5, 1.5, 1.5, 2.5. I mean, and it's very unpredictable. I think that this is what makes the U.S. Chess League so exciting. I mean, it's just the best of the sport. If you want to look for excitement, if you look for situations that can go either way, you have a lot of these situations in the U.S. Chess League.
Now, this is your first season playing, but it sounds like you were a fan before this season began.
Well, I knew of it, um, but I did not get too much into it. But I'm very impressed with it. I think that the league is organized very well, and I'm just to say something personally to you. I think that the timeliness and the quality of reporting is outstanding. Also, the website quality is very high in my mind. It's really a top-notch organization. I mean, of course, it's not perfect, but looking at the overall picture is very, very good.
Well,
So
thank
I
you. Yeah, the commissioner, Greg Shahadi's put a lot of work into revamping some things and adding some features this season, so I'm glad that you noticed. Well, going into this week, it's no big surprise that both the Inventors and the Applesauce are using the exact same lineups as last week. Applesauce chose white on boards 1 and 3, so you'll get black this week against National Master Andrew Schwartzman. Have you begun your preparation yet for Monday's match?
I did, but didn't go too deep into it.
I see. Oh, well, you got a few more days to prepare, I suppose. How did you get recruited for the team originally?
Well, we moved from the DC area last year, and Sergey Ehrenberg also moved to that area. We were friends before, and basically the issue came up, and I was very interested to play in the league, and I got to know also Richard Costigan and Mike Shahadi, and basically that's how I made the team.
Okay. Well, yeah, they're all very nice guys. Now, if you don't mind me saying so, the Inventors are kind of the senior citizens of the league. You have Jay Bonin at 57, Richard Costigan's 53. Your captain, FM Michael Shahadi, is 66, and FM Carl DeMelt's 55. You're like a spring chicken at 45 years old. What do you think? Is experience trumping youth in this year in the league?
It's like this the Boston Celtics of the NBA, right? Getting all these experienced veterans. Yeah, I mean, it turns out to be that way. I think that we still have a couple of other young players, but I agree with you that we need to also bring some other young blood into the team. I had a couple of ideas about who. For example, in our area, it's the south and central Jersey and Philadelphia, of course. But you have young stars like David Wan. He's a strong 2,400 players from Princeton with an IM strength. I mean, you have some other up-and-coming stars like Alice Dong, Maria Oreshko, Chris Young. There are some others that definitely will be. They need to be on the team, or at least somebody need to think about that, because that gives you the most flexibility. I see what other teams do from match to match. They can create this, very different lineups to meet the occasions. Where we're more or less forced with very rigid, consistent but rather rigid way to approach matches. So, I think that a little bit more flexibility will help us.
Well, is there any reason that Jay Bonin didn't play at all this year after playing nearly every week last year?
I'm not in management of the team, but and I don't know all the reasons.
I see. So this idea that there's a lot of Fisher generation type players on your team. Do you feel like you're carrying the mantle for an older generation, or is that just a feature of the team that you've not thought about up until now?
Um, you know, think that it worked out for us, but it could have gone a different way too. So I'm I'm not sure if there are general consideration here. I think that personally, I feel that it's best to have as many options, and I can see that one of the best options is to have underrated players, and I'm not so sure that we have underrated players.
Well, I think if anyone, it must be you. You might be the most underrated non-junior in the USCL, at least if this season is any indication.
Well, first, thank you.
uh, well, do you have any predictions for the chances that the Inventors might pull off their first ever USCL championship?
I think that we just need to concentrate on the next game, and we already beat Manhattan once, and I like our chances, but I think that it's going to be a very, very close game and very unpredictable too. Anything can happen, which is the beauty of the U.S. Chess League. So beyond that, I mean, maybe we can talk next week.
Well, if I talk to you again, that'll probably mean your team and you personally have done something good. So thanks for spending your Saturday with us, Dov Gorman, and good luck this week on your Monday match, the semifinal in the East against the Manhattan Applesauce.
Thank you very much.
We were spending time with Dov Gorman, the frequent third board for the Philadelphia Inventors. Before we go, we'd like to thank our sponsors, PokerStars, the ICC, and Chess.com.